Ciao a tutti ragazzi e benvenuti a questo video diverso dal solito. È quasi più un podcast, anzi è un podcast perché non c'è il video, c'è solo l'audio. Di cosa si tratta? Si tratta di un'intervista, una conferenza che si è svolta questa Modena Play con un ospite d'eccezione. Prima di tutto scusatemi per la voce, ma l'influenza mi ha aggredito brutalmente. Ma a questa conferenza sono andati per Dice Games Italia il buon Edo e il buon Naux per fare un po' di domande insieme a tanta altra gente. Sono andati a interrogare, a domandare un po' di cose a Jason Carl, il responsabile marketing e community per il mondo di Tenebra presso White Wolf, ovviamente, che è anche sempre Jason Carl, il padrone di casa di LA by Night, cronache di vampiri, la Masquerade, sul Twitch di Geek and Sundry, forse l'avete sentito. Ora, è un'intervista molto interessante, è qualcosa di veramente particolare, io vi consiglio di seguirla fino alla fine e buon ascolto.
Edward, good morning.
Hi, Mattia.
Again, Vanessa.
We are old friends.
Okay.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
Okay. Ready when you are. Whenever you want to start.
Who wants to start?
Who has questions? Okay, no questions.
You can go.
Caffè?
Yes.
Garçon?
Obviously, if you want coffee,
Yeah.
I'm for it.
Prego.
And let's start. I mean, the pressure of going in this whole new direction with,
Yes.
With a franchise like Vampire, which is loved throughout the world. How did you cope with that? You know, and not to let down the fans and still make a great product that's fresh and new, because that's what it is.
Vino.
Oh, yeah.
Vino cafe. Yes. So very good question to start. Yes. I've been working with Vampire from the beginning. 1991, first edition. I was a player. I played my first game in the original Camarilla in the States, in Seattle. And I started to write freelance for White Wolf on Vampire Dark Ages. And then Mind's Eye Theater LARP books for many years. I worked at Wizards of the Coast. I wrote for Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering. But I always stayed with Vampire. I always connect. So it's almost 30 years now since we started. So a lot of pressure because, as you say, people love it throughout the world. But we know that now, to be successful, we must do beyond just RPG books. You know, if we want Vampire to live for another 30 years, another 100 years, and maybe many centuries, it must grow beyond the current style. And it must connect with people who are much younger than us and who see the world very differently. I did not grow up with, internet and cell phones, but they do. They cannot imagine a world without it. So we felt that we must take a new direction, a brave direction, and try to make a bridge, a connection between the old and the new. So, and that's not really your question. The question is, how did we cope? What was it like?
What stylistic choices did you make, conscious of the fact that you were touching something that's kind of sacred for the fan base? So.
Yeah, radioactive.
Yeah.
The conscious choice we make was to try to bring the game back to original focus. First edition. When you saw first edition with the green marble and the rose and Tim Bradstreet art, you felt like, wow, this is rock and roll music. This is really deep, strong connection to emotion, and we wanted to try to do that. And so we changed focus to young vampires. Yeah, we sent old vampires away for a while. They'll be back. And we wanted to focus on the conflict between young and old, Camarilla, Anarch, order, chaos, and to really focus tightly on hunger. on the appetite for blood. What does it mean to be a vampire first? And then politics and the global conspiracy later. But first, vampire. And that emotion is what we wanted to try to use to bridge the old and the new. That was a long answer, sorry.
It was a perfect one.
No, there's no problem, I think.
It was a
They
perfect
will
one.
understand.
Solve other question, so
Yeah.
Se mi sta venendo gli occhi. Ok. No, davvero.
And then, of course, when we make it for almost 2 years, we talk to the community. We test, we play test, we test again. We try to understand what it is that people need from the experience.
Avete qualche domanda?
Io volevo chiedere, scusa,
No, vai bene.
com'è l'impatto che ha ricevuto lui da creatore con il pubblico? Nel senso,
Qual è la risposta del pubblico?
la risposta del pubblico, the feedback of the
What's the feedback of the players?
the players.
For now, like, did you think you succeeded in making what you wanted or not?
So the community is very big and it is global. And every time there is a new edition of any game, Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Pathfinder, whatever, some people will always prefer the old. That is what they connect with passionately, and they prefer no changes. And that's fine. That's the good thing about role-playing games. You can still enjoy the old, even if you don't like the new. So there is of course, we don't please everybody. But I'm very happy that the majority of the community around the world seems to really, embrace Vampire 5th edition. They see the passion, they like the aesthetic, they like the tight focus back on the individual vampire, and they are excited to build new games and new communities. And they are starting to see where we are going. At first, I think they were, some players were upset. It's like, oh, where's the Ravnos? Oh my God, no the Sombra. Oh, no Sabat. Right?
Where is the where is the Timish? Where is the
Yeah,
Ravnos?
where is it? Where is it?
That's like a
Where
question
is
for the end.
And then they realize, oh my God, the story is continuing. There is a plan. We know when the La Sombra return. We know when the Simitsi are back. We know when the Sabat come back and what happens. And so now they are excited to see the story create and to create it with us. To collaborate with us.
Thank you. Abbiamo una domanda.
Yeah, because this fight between older generations and the younger generation is something that my generation is feeling very strongly. So you were inspired by our generation struggles, right?
We were inspired by the younger generation struggles. I have many friends around the world who play Vampire first with 5th edition. They never played Vampire before, but they are younger, university and even younger, and they feel a connection to the fight against the older generation, and that inspired us because the world is very difficult now for many people. So many changes, so fast, and big struggles for a lot of people. Just to find work, to find happiness, to find family. And so we wanted to take some of that struggle and the emotion behind it and put it in the vampire, in the story.
That's also what Thin Bloods are, right? Because they are weaker, they are hated by older generations, but they can adapt, they can create new things.
They can do new things a lot faster, and they are comfortable with technology, which is important. And the Thin Bloods are very valuable now to the older. Now it's hard to communicate between cities. I cannot pick up the phone in London and say, hello, Prince of San Francisco, how are you? Because, of course, the Inquisition is listening. So I can't do that. I must send people. I must write a letter. I must send an animal, a magic, whatever. Thin Bloods, excellent messengers because they can stand some sunlight. They can be human. They can pretend easily, and they know technology. So they are excellent spies, messengers, servants. So now they have a role. They have skills to sell.
Sono più potenti di un goal in realtà. Prima avevamo i goal. Before we had a goal.
Yeah.
Now we have
now you can have
the engineer,
ghoul, but you can have the Thin Bloods too. And you know what happens when a thin blood diablo?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know?
no.
They become the clan. So if you are a thin blood
You can choose your
and
clan.
you are a Toreador and you diablerize him, you become a Toreador.
Yeah, you can choose your clan.
You can choose
Oh
your
my
clan
God.
through diablerie. So imagine what happens when the thin bloods discover this. Oops. Bon appetit.
What only for 15th generation or for Bile?
If you have the thin blood
Just the
character, just the thin blood.
just from...
Yeah. Diablerie is how you choose your clan when you are a thin blood.
Wow.
That's like reverse engineering the whole vampire system, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because before you have to be chosen, and then you become
Yeah.
that clan.
Exactly.
You
And now
become
I
that
choose.
clan.
Exactly.
Now
I
I
could
choose
be
my
anyone. I
destiny.
could be adventurer, but act like I'm Volcanian, basically, because I just drank adventure.
So, it only works once. You only get to diablerize it, obviously. But
Un problema,
it's a new layer of story for the game.
Wow.
You
This is
touched
cool.
briefly on technology
Yes.
there, and I've got a lot of friends who are old style vampire players who always try, when we play games, they always try to make it like in the 90s, so there's not that much technology, because technology kind of breaks
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
game. How did you approach it? How did you approach it, bringing the whole vampire franchise kicking and screaming into this century? You know, how did you approach technology and how it can literally kind of break the game?
It does break the game, and we were very conscious of this. So, the incredible thing is that we don't even understand everything that technology can do.
It's magic.
It's magic, right?
Basically.
It's a mage.
We have artificial intelligence now that is just crazy. It's almost frightening how good it is. We don't understand it ourselves. We think we do. We are comfortable with it because we trust it, but we don't really understand it. We wanted Vampire to feel real and believable. We wanted you to read the book and think, wow, this could be true. I could go outside my house tonight and maybe there is a vampire. So we had to think about how vampires will react to technology. And we decided that the older vampires, and the Camarilla especially, was like, no, it's too dangerous. We just, no, we're going to stop. And they cut themselves off. And that makes them insular, right? It closes the world around them. But the younger vampires are like, yeah, okay, hey, Instagram, I'm a vampire. Woo! We think that the younger vampires, we decided they would use technology to help them be better vampires. You know, imagine the vampire who is a photographer and uses his Instagram to sell blood. So he photographs people, and these are the people he will sell to older vampires for their blood. You know, you can run Facebook pages for your rock band, and that's how you attract blood to you. The danger, of course, is government. We all know the government is listening to our phone calls and looking at our emails, but we still use Facebook every day. We don't think vampires would do that. So they will risk it. The young vampires will risk.
It's riskier for them because
Yeah.
we don't have anything to hide, right? I mean, they do.
Well, I don't know about you, but I do. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alexa is listening everything.
Yeah, Alexa is listening. We thought about that. I was in Stockholm, Sweden for a lot of the development time, and then sometimes in Los Angeles because I managed all the photography as well. We did that in LA. And we thought a lot about how we use technology every day and how that will affect the vampires.
It's like a selfie. Famoso selfie senza la tipa dietro che...
già.
No more questions. Okay.
Do tempo anche agli altri fare quelle domande.
And to give them time to answer.
Every answer is so.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Lots of more typical questions are already beginning as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
You already know the
try
answers.
to
to some.
keep it up with your answer. It's your a bit less of the game, a bit more about you. So your personal experience playing the game.
my personal experience playing the game. 5th edition or Vampire?
5th edition.
5th edition.
5th edition first. And maybe a bit of the backstory of your previous.
Sure. So 5th edition. When I came to Stockholm for the first time to meet the creative team, we met Martin Eriksson, the creative director, and Karim, who is the editor, myself. We all got in a room together for several days, and we had a big fight about a discussion about what is vampire, what does it feel like to be a vampire. And my job was to speak for the elder. Here's what it feels like to be an older vampire, to be scared, to be frightened of technology, to be frightened of the young, to be terrified of the thin bloods. So my role was to represent the ancient, and then my colleagues would represent the younger vampires. And so together we built, the framework, and then we had we discovered the hunger system. That was the big breakthrough. And the architects, the geniuses that I worked with were incredible. Karim Mumar, Carl Bergstrom, Martin and myself, we all got together and we played with many different ideas to try to make it feel like vampire. And then we said, what if the game is all about hunger? What if it is like Las Vegas, gambling, roulette? What if every time you want to be a vampire, you risk hunger? Yeah, you can solve your problems with dominate or celerity, but it's a risk. You risk the beast. And we felt that brought the game back to the classic heart of the story of humanity and the beast. And we decided, wow, that can work. And then we thought, all the older players are going to hate us. Because we're going to take away the blood pool, no more blood points. And now every time you want to be a vampire, it's a little scary. But we liked that. We thought that was the way to make the bridge I talked about. So my experience was, it was very positive, it was very exciting, and very scary because we didn't know if it would work.
Io avrei una domanda sulla disciplina, però qua è complicato, non riesco a dirla.
Di me.
Ci proviamo.
Nella storia, nella lore, come mai demenza e dominazione sono state inserite insieme? Se c'è una giustificazione di una storyline di perché sono state messe insieme, oppure è una decisione puramente di gameplay?
There's a meta plot or just a game mechanics behind the decision to merge dominate and dementation?
So it is mostly mechanics, but there is a little plot you'll discover.
Ok, thanks.
Soon.
Okay.
Not today.
Okay.
Now I have
Now you have
I have a
questions.
question about that.
Go.
Because in the first edition, Macarians have dominate.
Yeah.
And then in the second became... Okay. I answered myself. Thank you very much, Alex. Sorry, Jesse.
Dominate the imitations.
Then dominate. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sometimes the clues we put in V5 are subtle. They're very, very small clues, but they are there.
Okay, perfect.
So,
Only this.
alright, so your new universe, your new meta plot is going to be much bigger with time, right?
I'm not sure I understand. Bigger.
So the meta plot is going to get more complicated and more articulated in time, right? So since you're going to bring back all other clans, you're going to have a more complex world.
Yes.
And what about werewolves and changelings?
Two questions. All right. First question.
Yes.
The meta plot will grow and be more complicated. We have planned about 3 years of meta plot, very detailed to show you, and then 2 more years of a little bit less clear, a little more vague. Depends on a lot of different things. And that meta plot will come through many different books. The first one you'll see is Chicago by Night, which is from our partners at Onyx Path, and it's available in English in August. And that is the story of the La Sombra. Their big civil war, their fight internally. I think you know this already. Many La Sombra will leave the Sabbat and come to the Camarilla. They look at the hunters, the Inquisition. They look at the war in the Middle East, and they say, no, that's a terrible idea. We would rather rule the Camarilla than expose ourselves to this danger. So, because they are La Sombra, they're arrogant. They figure, if we join the Camarilla, we will become the princes, right? So, yes, the meta plot will expand and grow. So, other games. We work on Werewolf now. We are starting to develop Werewolf.
Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Jason.
I'm Veronica.
Veronica. So we were talking about other World of Darkness games.
Okay.
So yes, we work on Werewolf right now. We start developing the backstory, the meta plot. We look at the tribes. How does Werewolf look today? And the difficulty with Werewolf is that when we wrote the first Werewolf 26 years ago, everything that we thought about for the environment is much worse today.
Yeah.
Right? It's terrible. So, we thought we were so smart, and we never dreamed that things would actually get worse. So now the werewolves, they are looking around the world going
to pieces.
What do we do? Okay. How many oil rigs can we destroy? Okay. So it's very difficult for the werewolves because they failed. They did not stop the worm. And things are worse. So now what do? How do you fight when you know the fight is doomed? It's like the Ragnarok story from Norse mythology. You know you're going to fight, you know you're going to lose, but you fight anyway. So that's the story of werewolves now. Mage afterwards, I think, Changeling, and then maybe some of the others.
Great. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
About the other games, where we probably, just about you say, the focus on the anger mechanics for vampires, something similar for the other
something
games.
similar for Werewolf. We're experimenting right now. We're thinking about rage dice. For mage, it would be paradox dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the dice mechanic will be consistent. We want to make it much easier to play the games together. So if you are at your table and you have werewolf, 2 vampires, a mage, a mummy, or a demon, we hope we can make it.
Yes.
Maybe. We work with publishing partners, so White Wolf sets the vision, and we know the meta plot, and we create the Bible and the guidelines, but our partners make original games content. So Modifius right now makes vampire books for us. We give them vision and we review the books and approve it, but a lot of the creative ideas comes from our partners. Not just us. We are too small. Well, for White Wolf, it is myself, it is 2 business developers, a licensor, and a brand manager, and that's White Wolf. It's just 5. And then we are part of this amazing Paradox Interactive company, which is very large. But the people working directly on White Wolf, World of Darkness, is only 5. And Kareem, our editor. So we need help from people like partners like Need Games to create new content. We cannot do it all alone. It's not 1990 anymore. Plus, we have many other partners working on board games, card games, legacy games, video games.
Bloodlines 2. Talking about the Bloodlines 2.
Exactly.
Maybe other things we don't tell you about yet.
So,
What you've spoken about other media, in which to bring the World of Darkness. But
Yes.
what about live action role playing?
LARP, very important to us. I started with LARP. I did not play Tabletop Vampire for almost 1 year after I bought the book. I found a LARP, Camarilla, in America. And so all my roots are with the LARP.
Do you have any plans for it?
We do.
se vuoi sì,
So,
grazie.
So in, I think we do licensed big LARPs like Convention of Thorns and The Night in Question in Texas, and we have a few more to share with you this year. What we do right now, though, is we are making a plan for a LARP community around the world, globally. We are not sure if it is better to write an official LARP rules for V5 or to let LARPers make the rules that work for them. Not everybody plays the same way.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided yet. But LARP is still very, very important to us because LARP is very personal and very immediate. And so it's a really good way to express vampire. Plus, I can't live without LARP. So.
Yeah.
Very important.
Veronica, prego.
Sì, però magari, cioè, se riesci...
Traduciamo.
Sorry, my English is terrible.
No.
Poi magari è già stata fatta come domanda, come è nato il processo, cioè c'è una grossa trasformazione nella lore da quello che era prima a quello che è adesso. Come è nato questo processo che ha portato a queste grosse trasformazioni? Cioè in che modo hanno detto ok, again, come ci comportiamo?
Ok. Sorry. Serve una sedia. Ok.
Cioè come ci comportiamo, come sviluppiamo quest'idea, insomma, che abbiamo, ecco. C'è un po' il processo.
It's a big question. the process that at White Wolf you made to bring old World of Darkness and into the new one. So what happened, how it was, develop all the process.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Wow. We need like a whiteboard or something.
I think that too, but this is the question.
Probably a
It's
brainstorming
a
session
big
too.
thing. How it all started.
How did it start?
How did it start? Well, okay. Let's answer that question because I think the question of the process would take many, many hours to explain because it was not a straight line. It was like that, like spaghetti. So how did it start? I think you know that for many years CCP company owns White Wolf, and then they closed. They stopped. They just turn off the lights. And everybody was upset. Many small companies still made World of Darkness books and LARP and things, but there was no leadership. So Paradox Interactive bought the company in 2015, and it was October, almost Halloween, and we met in New Orleans. So the new CEO, the owners, some of the licensees all met in New Orleans because there was a big vampire ball that weekend. We thought, this is the perfect place to meet, and we start talking about what should we do. How can we do this? And we knew what we wanted was to, and we talked about this before, was to make the bridge between the old and the new. So we just started by looking at what is happening in the world of media. We looked at role-playing games, and we looked at how popular Dungeons and Dragons is now. D&D 5th edition is huge around the world. We looked at many small games, very tiny independent role-playing games like Blades in the Dark and Apocalypse World and Burning Wheel, very independent, small quality designs. We looked at big media companies like Marvel, Star Wars. How do they do this? They have big story worlds too, and they have many different pieces of the world. And we noticed something. Those worlds don't match. When you read Spider-Man comic book, it is not the same as the Spider-Man movie. It is not the same as the video game. It is not the same as the board game. It is not the same as the T-shirt. They're all Marvel, all Spider-Man, but they're a little different. And everybody can find the Spider-Man they love. And so we decided that's the way to do it. Not everything will match perfectly. Bloodlines 2 will not be exactly like V5 tabletop. The card game will not be exactly like Bloodlines. live stream, like LA by Night, will not be exactly like the video game. But they will all be World of Darkness. They will all be Vampire. And everybody who loves it can find the one they love. And we will do our best to connect all these pieces together. It's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
You think this way to proceed could bring division into the community?
Do I think it will bring division into the community? Well, I don't think the community was united before.
You have a point.
So, I take that risk. But to answer your question, actually, I think that by creating more ways to enjoy it, I think it actually has a chance to bring the community together.
Yeah.
Because this is how the community participates in other stories they love. If you love Harry Potter, or Star Wars, or Star Trek, or Marvel, or Batman, this is how you participate in the community. It does not match. You can read your Batman comic book and still enjoy the Batman movie or TV show. And maybe you are like, okay, I wish it was perfectly matched, but that's okay. And I think those communities show us how people love to come together at places like Modena to talk and to celebrate what they love. So I think our chances are actually better now.
Yeah.
Talking about game mechanics
Yes.
from the new 5, they're much more streamlined than the old Vampire, because the old Vampire was much more old-style game rather than the new ones that came out. You mentioned Blades in the Dark and games like that. Like you looked at how they did it and stuff like that. How did you manage to keep the Vampire feel, but still streamline the game to make it more immediate, more pleasurable for the players?
So we did two things that were very important. We made a list of things that we felt must stay to feel like Vampire. So like the D10 must stay. We wanted to keep humanity system, blood must be there, and we wanted to keep the basic skills, the disciplines, and the attributes. And then we said everything else can change, but that must stay. And I think that we've tried many different systems, things we didn't show you. We worked for a year before we got to the pre-alpha. And we found what worked and what does not work. The real important part, though, was to make the game much faster. Because, I love Vampire, all the editions, but Celerity, oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, wow. Like, okay, I have 10 dice rolls now for 10 actions. And it didn't feel like Vampire. It felt like, I don't know, superheroes maybe, but with fangs. Which is fine. I think that is a good way to play. If that is what you love, you should play that. It is not our job to tell you how to play, ever. We don't, it's your game too, not just our game. But it was very important for us to make the game go very quickly so that we could focus on the important emotions of Vampire, because emotion is what makes this game cool and fun.
I must say we've been playing it for 3 or 4 sessions. We're playing B5 on our channel, and we've been enjoying it so much because it's just...
Thank you.
It's just really... It's one of the best Vampire experiences I've had, and I've had lots. So.
Now, it was important to us, too, to create optional rules. So if you want a lot more rule structure, you can have it, and we will do more. We have the Player's Guide coming soon from Modifius, and we will have more additional rules. So if you really like that celerity in the old style, you can do that. We'll show you how if you want to, but you don't have to. It's very important that we give you all the information to make the game custom for you. And that's just basic game design now. Nobody plays D&D the same way.
Even D&D changed and had to streamline.
Oh, absolutely. It was awesome.
So you dedicated a lot of space on playing responsibly.
Yes.
So playing safely with very hard, with some very hard methods and so on. So, and you also told us that if we wanted, we could use the X card. And not many mainstream games mention the X card.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you have any problems with players mentioning it because they told you were just snowflakes, sensitive snowflakes, or not? How did they respond?
So the playing responsibly is very important to us. This is a game about dark things, dangerous things. Yes. It's a game about evil, and it's a game about exploring evil through monsters. But it is very important that we people are not monsters. You can play a monster, and you can learn about evil through the monster, but the goal is not to become evil, of course. So we felt it was very important to talk about responsible play, because the world is bigger now, and there are so many different people playing, and some people need that security, that safety. It is never appropriate to make people feel inferior or excluded or uncomfortable. There is no excuse for cruelty to each other as people. Cruelty to character, sure, no problem, but not as people. And yes, there were some fans who said, "Oh, that's not a good idea. The World of Darkness is about making people feel unhappy and comfortable. I want my players to cry and be upset." And we don't agree. It's okay for you if you want to play your games that way, but we think it is important to give people the information so that they can choose how to play at their table. Very, very important. And I'm glad to say that people see the benefit. We see a lot of people using now X-Card or Fade to Black, or they talk about, okay, what's my limit? Where is the edge of my comfort? And they discover it's okay. It doesn't hurt the story at all. In fact, it makes it better.
Yeah, because if you know where is the limit, you are more comfortable.
You are
delving deeper into.
Absolutely. If you know where the walls are, you can really focus on what is it. And we do this in our own game when we run LA by Night on Geek and Sundry. We all met together first and said, okay, what are the limits for this story? Where are the hard lines? What do you not want to see? And we don't go there.
Have you ever seen someone use the X card? Because I've never seen anyone using it. So I wanted to see anyone did actually use the X card.
Yeah, we saw it in alpha testing and beta testing. Yeah. It's not usual. I mean, it was not frequent. I think the important thing is this. May I use this?
Yeah.
When players have the X card and they know it's there, it creates a sense of trust, because they know they can always use it if they need to. But when you have it, sometimes you are more confident in exploring emotion and difficult subject because you know you have the safety if you need it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what we saw more often. We saw players were more willing to explore really deep emotions and big, difficult ideas if they knew they had some security and safety in their hands. It's like, what's an analogy?
Cave diving.
Yeah.
If you have a rope or something to get back up, you'll go much down.
deeper.
If you don't have a rope, you'll never get into the cave at all.
You will just stay outside the cave. Yeah. A lot of these ideas come from LARP, too, of course. Nordic LARP especially has these ideas of safety built in. We use a lot of techniques that we see in LARP communities in D5, like the OK check-in for LARP. I see that a lot at tables. People will ask each other. If you say, yeah, great, give me more darkness. If you give this hand signal, it's like, no, this is too dark or too difficult for me, please back up. Please back off. And, it's like, I'm a little uncomfortable, be careful. And you don't have to say anything. That's great. You just, okay. It lets you stay in the story.
Always in charge.
Yeah, absolutely. The player's always in charge of their experience. I'm sure. Okay.
A classic question. And for the future,
yes,
what we can expect from the future of Vampire?
So, immediately La Sombra and the story of Chicago by night this year, of course. We also plan a starter kit, a box for the brand new player. I think that will be Christmas. I hope Christmas. And the goal is to give you a basic game, everything you need. If you've never played Vampire before, open the box, read the cards, read the story, go, play.
Yeah. Red box.
Red box, exactly, like for D&D. And I think that's very important. People don't have a lot of time now. They need a very quick entry, like, on the freeway. So that's very important. You will see the Book of the Inquisition from Modiphius. Yes. And that is, here's all the terrible things that the Second Inquisition is doing. Here's their weapons, their powers, their technology, their strategy. And that is basically the book of the antagonist, of the enemy.
Will I be playable?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
You can play. We will give rules for playing as the Inquisition. So I expect to see Inquisition. Hunter the Reckoning. So I love Hunter. I think it's a very good game, but it is lower priority for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not also mix with the Inquisition Hunter.
You have to wait and see. The Player's Guide, very important book. Again, from Modiphius, our partners in the UK. That's where you will see some of your clans that you have been missing return.
Thank you.
We'll give you lots of alternate rules so that you can create really custom experiences at your table. We will expand a lot of the things from the core book that need more rules, like backgrounds, merits, flaws, that sort of thing. It would be a really big resource for playing Vampire. And then after that, I cannot tell you. You'll see Vampire in French very soon from Arcane Asylum and some other languages as well.
May I ask you if you can give us a tiny little spoiler on London Fall?
The Fall of London. Okay, so I didn't mention that.
Oh, sorry.
Right. The Fall of London is a big chronicle from Modiphius, and it tells the story of how the Second Inquisition drove vampires away from London. What can I tell you that is not super secret? What I can tell you is that the Inquisition thinks all the vampires are gone. Of course they are.
The Inquisition thinks that all vampires
in London are gone.
London.
They think they won. They think they won. So, and there is another book coming from Onyx Path, the Cult of Blood Gods.
Sorry.
But the Cult of the Blood Gods, and that is the book of necromancy. Giovanni, the Hecata, the Cappadocian, Samedi.
This is my second question. Le altre linee di sangue verranno inglobate?
The other bloodlines are shown.
So, in Vampire, there are 47 clans and bloodlines.
Yeah.
So, not everything comes at once.
Okay.
Some bloodlines may die, right? And some we may not talk about. Because we have many publishing partners, if one of our partners really wants to make a book about some bloodlines, that's okay with us. Right? We don't decide that. Our partners decide what their customers, what their players want. They say, hey, we want to make a book about Nagaraja. Okay. And so we say, okay, show us your ideas. does this fit with our meta plot? Does this fit with our business plans? And if it fits, we say, okay, make the Nagaraja.
Okay. So you have a job. We're counting on you.
I hate Nagaraja.
I know. That's why I say it.
That's why we need
just one more quick question.
Yeah.
We know that I think that the countdown is up in Edinburgh. I don't know if it is correct, but will we see the Cult of Mithras detailed in the Fall of London or in Blood Cult?
I think the current plan is that there will be some information in both books. Okay. They're still in development, so we're still writing as we speak. So I don't have a good answer for you yet. It will definitely be in London. We talk about it in London for sure, but I think some of it has to be also in the Blood Cult.
Good to know, so I can plan how to spend my money.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, perché ha già risposto a tutto.
I have one final question because it's still about like the new mechanics, like the predator types.
Yeah.
You inserted, which give you much more flexibility in character creation.
Yes.
But kind of tie you in sometimes to one type of play rather than another.
I think it's important to remember that the predator types are not required. That's how you like to get blood, but you don't have to, unless you're a adventurer, of course. So if you are a Bruja and you have the predator type consensualist, that's your preferred. That's what I like to do. But you can hunt other ways. It's okay. We don't stop you. The predator types are not, they're not mandatory.
And the fact that they give you disciplines that you might not have in your own bloodline.
Yeah.
Was that wanted to give more flexibility to character creation, or
exactly? And I think you will see more predator types in the player's guide too, as well. So we'll expand the flexibility. But yeah, we decided that giving access to disciplines not in your clan makes a better custom experience and gives players a little bit of flexibility in how they want to spend their experience.
Yeah, because usually Bruja does this, and there are like two ways to play it. Either you're the really talky guy or you're the really punchy guy.
And you notice we did the same thing in the discipline tree.
Yeah.
So you can never have all the disciplines. You have to choose. And so it's a lot of differentiation in the Bruja. So you meet another Bruja, you don't know what he can do. You meet another La Sombra, you don't know what she can do. Because you don't know what choices the players made for the disciplines. So I like that. I like that mystery.
I like building characters. I like it a lot. So that really speaks to me.
I think it's a lot of fun. I like that mystery.
What I like.
Yeah. Until I show you my power, you don't know what I can do.
It makes sense.
Yeah, vampires are secretive, creatures, and they don't want to show you, and they like to lie.
Yeah, makes everything more interesting.
I think so. Yeah. Especially because they will not tell you the truth. Do you have celerity? Oh, sure. Yeah. Very fast.
Hey, Mitchell.
It's my celerity not working tonight. I don't know. I ate some bad blood, sanguine resonance. I don't know. I feel tired. Sorry.
And the bloodlines like the Panders.
Yeah.
Will they be coming back? Because you have the weak bloods basically. So
yeah, we have Kaitif, of course. I mean, Panders are just Caitiff in a way. So I'm going to answer your question a little differently than you asked. So Panders are part of the Sabbat. And right now the Sabbat are very busy doing other things. The Second Inquisition, really hurt them badly. And so they withdraw from the fight. And they're still here. There are Sabbat spies in every city, I think. They're not all in the East. We are already working on Sabbats and trying to think about what should it be, how will the Sabbat react to technology and all these changes. And I can't promise you that Panders will be back in the way you know them.
And because I saw lots of connections that could make to the weak blood, because that basically
I don't know what you mean.
Un'ultima domanda però, c'entra con Vampire, però c'entra più col videogioco, perché sono curioso anche sapere magari qualcosa si può fare, però dimmi tu.
Se risponde.
Il tuo intervento nella direzione del videogioco è molto presente oppure no? Nel senso, avete lasciato molta libertà ai creatori del gioco o siete molto dentro nella lore voi?
You worked a lot upon video games, or just set free to the creator of the video games?
For World of Darkness?
Bloodlines 2.
Bloodlines.
We work very closely.
Okay.
Very closely. So for 2 years we worked with Hardsuit Labs in Seattle, and it was a big secret. You know, I would fly to Seattle and people would say, "What are you doing in Seattle?" Nothing. Starbucks, Amazon, Microsoft. I worked for Xbox for a long time, for 10 years after Wizards of the Coast. So I have a lot of friends at Xbox. So I always say I'm just visiting friends. But we work very closely. We gave them our vision. We talked about the meta plot with them, and there are very tight connections between the V5 book that you have now and Bloodlines 2. It will be if you read the book, Bloodlines will be very familiar to you. But there are some differences, and Bloodlines does take the story in some new directions as well. So, but it was a very close relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Skype calls, a lot of visits to Seattle, a lot of sharing information back and forth. A really tight integration of the creative teams.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
I've asked even my personal questions I wanted to know.
And here's an example. When you read the V5 book, you read about, in the Camarilla book, we talk about Tender.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the big ARG campaign to tease Bloodlines. So we wrote that 14 months ago. We wrote that part of the book. So that's how close we work together. Okay.
Amazing.
Last questions, maybe?
No. Ultima domanda?
No more?
Cos'è di che foto?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not La Sombra. It's okay. I'm Venture.
Your clan prefer clan?
I love them all, but my favorite is Venture.
Venture.